It's time for a deep dive on University of Portland basketball. The inside story on the Pilots. This is Portland Pilots basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau. Tonight's show is brought to you on 910 ESPN Portland by employee-owned Bi-Mart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by Play Smart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Now here's your host, Jason Bro.
Good evening, and nice Monday here in the Rose City. We are at the Pilot House on the University of Portland campus for the weekly Portland Pilots Coaches Show with head coach Eric Reveneau. And before we get to basketball, some updates. I had the opportunity at the games last weekend to do some fun promotions surrounding the track and field team, the halftime mile. Coach, I know you didn't get to see it, but maybe you heard the gunshot go off, and hopefully you didn't get scared in the locker room.
I dove for cover.
But that's turned into a fun annual event, the halftime mile, and part of the reasoning for doing that this week was the Pilot men's cross track and field team turned in a top 25 performance, which is pretty remarkable for a school that doesn't have a track on the facility. Woody Kincaid and Reed Buchanan, the two top times in the 3,000. Woody also the top time in the 5,000. Had a chance to honor him during the game and just doing some good things. Rob Connor just seems to always have it. He preaches vegan. I don't know if he's ever tried to get you to go to it, but he's tried to get me to go to it, and he said that's the difference for Woody Kincaid. So congrats to Woody Kincaid. Corey Tilke, one of your former players, has a few more meets, chance to qualify for the U.S. Indoors, so we wish Corey luck. He joined us at halftime to talk about his volunteer coaching, breaking into the coaching ranks with the track and field team. So congrats to them. Baseball coming up, started their practices this last week. Tennis is off to a good start, playing some good. So we're in full mode here, the crossover between the basketball seasons and a very busy springtime. And starting out those seasons, there's a lot of excitement there. Coach, let's look back to this weekend in the Chiles Center and a couple teams that, when you played them down on the road, looked like you had them. Chance to get redemption back here, but San Francisco and Santa Clara both shot the ball well, came out, and they got you. What's just your general, as you look back and have a chance to digest and maybe look at film, what are your observations from the last couple of games?
First of all, I agree with you. You kind of go away from that weekend and go, you should have maybe split or could have split at least, and you're coming back here in the second half of the league, and the guys were all focused and well prepared, and then San Francisco comes in and really shoots the ball well in the first half, and that was problematic. And then they got to the line a ton. They beat us basically on the line there, shooting so many more free throws than we did in the second half and the game total. That really made it tough. And then the Santa Clara game, get down early, scramble back, and just really gave up too high a percentages. Really didn't do a good job on defense. And my general takeaway was, and I told the guys this today, we had really good sessions today. We had a good film session over lunch, working around classes. We had lunch and watched some video, and then they took a break and lifted weights and then came back for practice. And I told them, I said, we're not as far away after watching the tape, and this is to answer your question, we're not as far away as it feels. We're not like the things like we showed them we watched tape for 45 minutes. I showed them an 8-minute running video, 8 minutes of videotape. It takes me a while. I'm about 1 minute. It takes me 5 minutes to cover 1 minute of basketball and video. I'm a little long-winded sometimes. That's why I served them lunch at the same time. But we are, everything in the video was something that we could correct. That is just a correctable error. That's not. And I told the guys, I said, are we asking you to do anything that you're not capable of doing? Is this, I'm not asking you to be quicker, and this is what we got to drill. And it's a collective issue. We had a good week of practice. I only felt like we had one bad week of practice so far this year, and that was before the San Diego game. I think it showed in that game. But it was a really good week of practice, really good preparation, but yet we didn't play like we came, so we got to try to solve that. So I feel like the energy in the room, the locker room, and everything is really optimistic and a little bit chip on our shoulder that we got to carry forward to put our preparation in place for the opponents this week.
If you got a question for Coach Rev, a few ways you can get in touch with us. Visit portlandpilots.com/AskCoachRev. Use the hashtag AskCoachRev on Twitter, or give us a call at 503-542-0910. Coach, as we look at the Saturday game, it was a really entertaining basketball game. A lot of offense going back and forth, and you had two of the best guards on the West Coast going at it. And, we'll get to Alec in a little bit. But just talk about Jared Brownridge. He's probably, he's one of those guys that he's scary when he's on the other side, but at the same time, as a basketball fan, you appreciate what he does and how he takes care of business.
He's really good in our preparation for him, and over the years we've recognized he doesn't, we like to say he's not a pig about shooting the ball. I mean, he lets things come to him. We were watching tape today. He set up a nice flare for a player and made the others better. He's a basketball player that looks like he's trying to do what it helps for his team to win. And not just get his scoring. And they've struggled at times, and he's still just trying to figure out how to win. And so I really respect that about his basketball game. He's very talented. He sometimes is like a sleeping dog, let a sleeping dog lie. Sometimes he's not. He'll sort of almost facilitate too much and not look to take over. But in the last couple minutes of our game, you could tell he was sort of engaged. The only time I saw him do that once, that game over Thanksgiving when he played Arizona.
Where he just took over.
He was like that the whole game.
Yeah.
Overtime, 40-something points.
And they needed every bit of it,
too.
Yeah,
and they needed his 38 points against us, and it was, and the ones in transition, the ones driving, and those are the ones that we really got to do a better job at. I give him credit for just picking his spots and attacking well and really doing some good things. But from a team standpoint, to be a good defensive team, we got to limit some of those. And I think we could have made that harder. We had a couple plays. We had one play where Gabe came over and it just walled up great. And they wanted a foul. He blocked a shot and made some plays. And we had a couple like that. But against a player of that quality, we have to be more consistent with that. And he made a step-back three. He made a three off. Those are some tougher shots that were pretty well contested. Right now we're at the stage where we got to shore up this stuff that's correctable, and I think guys understand that.
WCC's always been a great guard league, going back to Steve Nash and Santa Clara, Doug Christie, and you've seen a few that have turned pro with Della Vadova, Patty Mills, maybe a little surprising in terms of those. Is Brownridge a guy? It's kind of hard to find a comparison for him. He'd probably have to play the point guard at the next level. Do you think he's a guy that can maybe make it?
I would think so. I mean, maybe he could. It's a lot of it depends. Like with a guy like Della Vadova, does he have that heart of a champion that you never bet against? You get yourself in the right situation. He's not going to be a guy drafted, maybe not the first. And all of a sudden he goes to a team that needs him and he can shoot the ball. His athleticism is good. His size is good. I mean, Al was trying to defend him, use his quickness, and Al would put his hands on him. And I said, you don't want to start into a wrestling match with him, a big, strong kid. You want to use your quickness and stay. We talked about some things like that. But yeah, I would think he definitely would. The reality is, if you're all conference in the WCC, you're going to get a look you're going to get a really good look, and you'll get an opportunity. He'll get an agent and get an opportunity, and then at that point, the league's pretty tough. As Pooh Jeter, you talk about guards in the, even T.J. Campbell. I've had NBA people tell me, in the right set of circumstances, both those players, are NBA players. It's just being in the right spot at the right time. Pooh's done it more than T.J. T.J. had a good D League and had some people, and they had said if he had stayed in the States instead of going to Europe,
he might have got the call.
Might have gotten the call up, and it's just a matter of timing. So I think he definitely falls in that category.
Yeah, Brownridge, good player. He reminds me of C.J. McCollum, who we get to see for the Blazers a little bit, a guy who can do it. He finishes with 38, 7 for 11 beyond the arc, made a bunch of plays late. Him and Alec really had a good battle going on. Alec, another 30-point game, and he's, sometimes maybe I think everyone might just expect more because it didn't seem like he shot the ball great, and then you look down at the stat sheet, and he was 12 for 19. He's one of the most efficient guards, and I guess, he misses a couple, and you think, geez, he should have made that. But 12 for 19 for a point guard in that game, that's pretty efficient.
Yeah, and he's, they were going under ball screens. He shot a couple of those in. They made that choice just because the scouting report there is they just really want to keep him in front of them and not let him get to the rim. And that's a really hard task to do. We did a good job of moving him around. Jazz played the point. Alec started down at the off-guard spot in the corner and running off the screens and different looks. Similar sets and similar actions to what we've been running, but moving personnel around. you know, when you have Jazz and DeMarcus and Bryce on the floor together with Al, you know, who's going to guard who? And we had Bryce and DeMarcus playing the 4 some, or being guarded by their 4 at least, and able to do some things that were pretty effective. And I felt like we did that was a bright spot of the game in terms of getting buckets when we needed. We couldn't, you know, we've had some games this year where we couldn't get buckets. You know, I wish our offense has come along and our guys' understanding of things has come along where I feel better about getting buckets. And now all of a sudden the other thing, we're not getting stops. You know, we couldn't get a stop when we need to get a stop, and so that ended up costing us.
Give us a call, 503-542-0910, or hashtag AskCoachRev on Twitter. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about Santa Clara, San Francisco. Look ahead to a road trip down to Los Angeles. The Pilots will face Pepperdine and LMU. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Give us a call at 503-542-0910 or using hashtag AskCoachRev on Twitter to submit your questions for Coach. And Coach, you mentioned in the first segment going back and going over about 8 minutes of film with the guys. You know, if you had to go back and have some constructive criticism or areas you know over the next couple days in practice you need to get better at as you prepare for Pepperdine, what are some of those specific things fans can look for?
The point of attack and the help there and rotations thereof. You know, I showed them some good clips where, you know, someone got beat a little bit, we helped, we rotated. Maybe someone got beat badly and we helped, we rotated. But too often there was a guy that maybe, you know, they ran a ball screen and our angle of recovery was right at the guy, to a guy that we didn't have to recover like that to. St. Mary's or something maybe different, but, you know, knowing the personnel like they knew in walkthrough and just making that game decision and working that so that they recover, gap the guy, so that point of attack. But when it does happen, when someone gets beat, whether it's by a ball screen or just a straight dribble drive, it shouldn't translate into a layup. You know, it shouldn't. You know, and that's where the fives being big down there and blocking shots and, you know, making plays is huge for us. And when Phillip or even Ray can do that for us, it helps. But then when someone gets beat, something happens. It shouldn't mean a layup. It shouldn't be a 60-70%er. You know, it should be a rotation and at least a couple passes, and maybe you give up something. But so that's the thing that we've worked on a bunch, and you know, and just need to be really consistent with it. You know, for sometimes it's the younger guys that are very good defenders. Jazz is going to be very good. You know, he had some opportunities to take some charges where he didn't take them, and just working on that, and just his buy-in to doing that, because he's very willing to do that. So just as an example. But I would say, in answer to your question, point of attack is the main thing, and our rotations out of that. And then rebounding. I think rebounding is going to be on the list all year long. You know, I think as maybe point of attack will be at this point, but rebounding the basketball, I thought we did a good job against Santa Clara for the most part, but we'll be challenged more by upcoming teams.
Go to our first phone call. We've got Larry from Hood River on the line. Larry, what do you have for Coach Reveneau?
Hey, thanks, Jason. Hey, thanks, Coach. I know that this week didn't turn out exactly as you hoped, but I like the way they're still playing hard, and I think that's, you know, this time of year that's always important. I don't know, Coach Rev, we don't play much zone. Do you guys tinker with that at all during practice?
Yeah, no, we actually started the year, you know, with the plan of playing more zone, even some trapping defense and different things, and with the shot clock being shorter, we had prepared that. We still have some good old-fashioned, we call it, in the past we've called it NSG 23, which is our not-so-good 2-3 zone. And we still can do some of that. But, you know, after struggling a little bit man-to-man, I think it's a great question and something that we look at is like, okay, are certain matchups of which lineups of ours going small, personnel-wise, rebounding from a zone. Yeah, we definitely have some zone looks. And I think that we're not as far along defensively as we'd like to be. I don't think we're that far away. I really don't think we're that far away in man, but giving our guys some change of calls. We've done that some this year. Really, and in the first game against Pepperdine, we played a fair amount of zone and change defenses on them. And the guys like to do that a little bit. So I think that's something that we'll definitely continue to try to do and find the good opportunities to do it. The opponents we've played recently shooting the ball, like St. Mary's and USF and stuff, has been hard to do that with. But there are some teams where we can.
Yeah, we're making a trip to L.A., so we're looking forward to seeing you guys down there.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support and the kind words. The guys are playing really hard, and like the energy in practice today was good. They're frustrated. I'm frustrated. We feel like we're a better team than our record, and there's that's not something you're ever proud to say as a coach or a player. But they're working hard at it. We're working hard. Everyone's trying to get it done.
Well, sounds great. You guys have a good trip. We'll see you down there.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Larry. We'll see you down in L.A. and Malibu as the Pilots face Pepperdine and LMU this weekend as they continue West Coast Conference play. And Coach, individually looking at some players, and Bryce Presley has not shot the ball well from the three-point line, but as you look down, he's been able to affect the game in other ways. You mentioned him kind of when you go to the small lineup. His rebounding numbers has been gone up. His assist to turnovers is pretty good, but can't just seem to get that perimeter shot going. He's finding other ways to be effective, but that's a key part to what you're trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah, no, he really shoots the ball well for us, and they're still guarding him. It's not, when the word gets out and they stop guarding him and it starts crowding the floor, and he's still able to beat guys off the dribble. He's still rebounding effectively. He's defending for us. So you're exactly right. He's doing a lot of things that impact us in a positive way. And the shots, the risk is the shot starts to become something that gets in his head a little bit. And, as I told him, I said, you're a good shooter. You just got to, just keep shooting and relax. And, it puts a little pressure. I got him on one shot at the end of the first half against Santa Clara that was a contested shot. It puts a little more premium on. There was some you saw the games. You saw those games where he took some bad shots and made them, and that you kind of let a shooter do that when he's feeling it. But now he's struggling a little bit shooting it, and you just got to be a little more careful with your shot selection, move the ball. And I think that's what we try to tell guys, and it's a good rule of thumb all the time, is try to make your teammate better. When you just try to set something up, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, you're screening or attacking for somebody else. And in our offense now, there's plenty of opportunities to do that. Once you start worrying about making someone else better, helping a teammate out, it's funny. It's unbelievable. It's one of the great things about basketball. Then all of a sudden your shot starts falling. When you're worried just about your shot, and he's not doing that. He's like you say, he's doing all these other things. Just stay that way, stay the course, and keep worrying about winning and making your teammates better. Everything will work out.
Bryce approaching, Alec was recognized on Thursday for eclipsing the 1,000-point mark. Bryce is coming up on it very quickly, 26 points shy. So, as you look at his career numbers, kind of a little bit of Luke Sigma stat line where he does a little bit of everything. He's top 20 in blocks, steals, assists, three-pointers. He's going to probably be top 20 in scoring before it's all said and done. So he's been a stat sheet filler for the Pilots and looking to finish strong his senior year. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll look at the WCC standings, go back and check out some of the officiating rule changes and how Coach Reveno's viewed the impact of those midway through the season, and we'll have more. Again, if you got a question, want to talk to Coach Rev, 503-542-0910. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Basketball Show on ESPN 910 Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveno on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Bro.
Be sure to download the brand new Portland Pilots apps for your iPhone. Go to the App Store, search Portland Pilots, presented by In-Game Technologies. Make sure you follow along. Fan updates, fan chat, everything you need right at the touch of your palms of your fingers. The new Portland Pilots apps by In-Game Technology. Download it now. And we go back to the phone lines, a familiar caller, Pedro V. down in Southern California. We're coming to see you soon, Pedro. How are you?
Hey, good evening, fellows. How are you tonight?
Good.
Thank you.
All right, we had a little Portland weather here yesterday with trees in the highway and everything, but rain. But we're going to have some real nice 70s sunshine weather for when you get down here. And I heard my pal Ed from Hood River. What's up, Ed? We're going to be looking for all the Portland fans coming down here and make some noise. But Coach, I see these guys playing hard. I would not want to be playing the Pilots this week or anytime soon. These guys look mad. They look like They're playing harder than ever to get those wins, and I think when they roll into town, they're going to do something.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We were talking about it today. I think we're playing hard, and the key is to stay focused and stay positive, and not. You don't want to play hard out of desperation like we might have done. Get down against Santa Clara. We got to come out with that energy from the jump ball, and just a really optimistic, positive energy, and some belief and faith in our ability, and Pepperdine, we're not going to sneak up on them after handling them pretty well at our place, and we're going to have to come ready to play, and I think the guys will. So we're excited about it.
When I look at Alec Wintering, right now, looking at all the college basketball I watch, I don't see anybody playing any better than him at the point guard position. I mean, to go 12 for 19, handle the ball as much as he does, drive, rebound, get the ball to somebody. He's just having a great season. I mean, it's really great to have seen him grow from a freshman to now.
Yeah, no, and he and Bryce continue to grow as leaders. I challenged them at halftime of the San Diego game, and the Santa Clara game. Challenged them at halftime of the Santa Clara game, and I told them, stay positive. You can't get frustrated. It's just you got to set the tone and make this thing happen one basket at a time. And he makes such great plays for himself and for his teammates, and he is doing a fantastic job. So, and he's shooting the ball well. I sympathize with the opposing coaches trying to figure out how to guard him. I think I would agree that maybe you want to try to keep him from the rim because he gets in there and scores the ball, gets to the free throw line, but he's shooting the ball well too. So
he's a blur, and to see two outstanding guards like him and Bryce. Just reminds me of Laker teams and other pro teams that had their leadership started with the two guards. They ran the show, and they pretty much dictated what went on. Well, I got a pledge for you. When you win a game down here, I will single-handedly rush the court afterwards.
All right, there you go. I'll try to tell if security tackles you, I'll bail you out.
You see, old guy with gray hair rushing the court.
You rush the court. you rush the court, and I'll pay your bail money. Unless you do it without clothes on, then you're on your own.
No. Especially in Malibu, they don't like you.
No streaking. It's a family environment down at Pepperdine.
No. My son's going to be down here, and my wife. They're going to disown me.
All right.
Great talking to you, fellas, and we'll see you down here this weekend, and we'll make some noise. Get on down here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pedro. We'll see you soon. Going to Twitter, a question from Robin Beavers, and along the same lines from Pedro's comment, how do you encourage the boys to stay motivated after back-to-back losses, and what, if any, new strategies do we need to win?
I think we've had this great question. Appreciate it. The discussion we've had is that the guys have basically said they need the feedback, they need the honesty and stuff, and so we gave it to them straight today in terms of some feedback and one thing we need to challenge them to do better. And what's interesting about it is the optimism that comes from some pretty direct feedback and criticism is that we're not that far. Hopefully you're motivated by because things can seem overwhelming or not optimistic, but if you look at the facts, and that's my job as a coach and all the coaches to show them, like, look, we're right there, just got to do this, and this, and this thing went wrong and this went wrong, but it's in our control to fix it. And that's the optimistic, motivating approach. And it's not, they don't have to work that much harder, just a little more discipline and a little more focused, and that's what we'll try to do. And what strategies to employ and whatnot. I think defensively, the question about zone defense and some things to mix things up defensively and try to put guys in good position that plays to their strengths, right? Opposed to trying to have them be somebody they're not at this point. There's some things defensively we can try to do. Offensively, I think we're doing a pretty good job of moving guys around. Guys keying off Alec at the point guard and moving him to the off guard and playing with Jazz and just different lineups. So that's been good. But it's a really good group to work with. They play hard and they're pretty fun, and we enjoy being around each other. So we're excited about what's ahead.
So looking at the Twitter feed from Pilot Hoops today, and about an hour ago they posted a video. Everyone needs to go check this out. Coach Reveno back to basics with the charge drill. And Did you have Tim Grass or Ben speed up the play? That looks like it's fast forward.
No,
you're moving pretty quick there.
No, because if I had done that, I would have also had him put some skin tone on my legs. That shade of white, you really kind of blurs in the back there. Coach Pfaff didn't hit me as good as Coach Wolf. Coach Wolf used to rattle the.
You got to take advantage of those opportunities when they come.
Coach Wolf used to sort of ring me up a little bit. Coach Pfaff, if I have him do it next year, he'll learn and kind of knock me for a loop. But no, the guys, it's a drill we've done normally traditionally to start the first day of practice, and we've done it, and I demonstrate it first, and guys practice taking a charge, and you get hit in the chest pretty good, and it doesn't hurt that much, and you bounce up, and your teammates pick you up, and so that's what we were trying to get excited about, and the guys were great with it. Like a lot of things we do, they buy in and have some fun, so it was great.
We'll take another break. If you got any questions for Coach Reveno, give us a call at 503-542-0910 or hashtag AskCoachRev on Twitter. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveno on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Welcome back. We are on campus here at the Pilot House on the University of Portland campus, and vibrant, brand new facility. Coach and I were just talking on the break about how many new buildings have gone up and on the campus over the last decade, and just continues to grow and be a great, vibrant campus. Child Center, now pretty much the center of campus, which is crazy. As I was a student here 12 years ago, that was the edge of campus. The row housing wasn't even over there yet. The public safety was a portable, and now it's been replaced by a Beauchamp Rec Center, all the land down below, and just seems like endless possibilities on the campus now.
No, it's exciting. You have those recent alumni out, like we did with the 96 team. 96 team kind of came out, and for the BYU game, and having those guys around. Last week it was great to have Bill Kruger and Nick Ravio and Heller and all the guys. Some of those guys came by, shoot around before the game, and you talk to them about it, and they start talking about Howard Hall, or you talk about and we talk about the rec center and the use of practice. Tomorrow we'll practice in the rec center because guys have class, and we juggle that, and the women, because they're the home team this week, they'll take the child center. We can have the same practice time, and to go over to the Beauchamp Rec Center, we got a big screen, flat screen TV. Coach Pfaff is going to show some video for 15 minutes right there on the floor, right before warm-ups, and just to be able to do those kinds of things. We had an NBA team in last week, on Friday. And
a lot of NBA teams have come through, and with Nicola Batum in there, a lot of media were in here, and I've actually gotten a couple calls and people saying, wow, that facility is amazing. They want to come out and do a little more deep dive on all that, but it's a little different than the Howard Hall upstairs being forced over there and maybe someone playing ping pong or gymnastics on the other side of the net.
Gabe Taylor tried walking by without even saying hi there. Hi, there he is. Hi, Gabe. How you doing? You studying or going to study? Good, Gabe. All right, nice to see you today.
Calling out the team.
He tried blowing us off, Jason. He tried blowing us off. He really did. Best player I've ever coached.
Some hyperbole, maybe not. Still a lot of time left. One player I wanted to talk about, though, that moved into the starting lineup on Thursday and Saturday. DeMarcus Tyson kind of earned his way in there. He's been shooting the ball really well. We've talked about it in previous shows. He's doing the job defensively, but man, I mean, as you look the last 5 games, 5 for 10 from the three-point line, 4 for 7, 5 for 9, 8 for 17. That's impressive to get 17 shots off. That was 17 three-pointers off. He didn't find one he didn't like, and then 3 for 5. I mean, that adds a dimension when a guy can really fill it up. And we've seen some great ones from TJ.
What was he from the free throw line those last 5 games?
He was from the free throw line. He only missed 1. So he was 5 for 6 from the free throw.
How many rebounds? What's he averaging rebounds?
Rebound-wise for the season, 1.9. Yeah.
I think he's at 3-something for the last 5.
Yeah,
the conference.
Is
that conference number?
Yeah.
So his rebound numbers are good, and those are the ones. It's nice. It's nice for us offensively how he's playing to balance some things. We had some really good actions going late game where we were able to move the ball around and make decisions on what sets we were running based on where guys were, and they didn't know whether to guard DeMarcus or Jazz or Bryce or Alec, and we were able to do some things pretty well, and that was really good, and his ability to rebound the ball and stuff. The fact that he's doing well offensively. I told him this today. No secrets. I said, look, you're playing with the team's not necessarily full of confidence right now. You're playing well offensively. You're doing well. I'm going to really hold you accountable defensively. We need you to step up. And when a good offensive player like that buys in defensively and rebounding wise, it's kind of what our team needs right now. He's not just cruising and just playing one end of the floor. He's working and defending. That can set the tone, which, like we've talked about for a while tonight, is that we can use that right now.
Some more personnel updates, just to get a quick update. Ray Moreno sat out the Thursday game with the concussion protocol, came back Saturday, all in the clear with Ray.
Yeah, no, Ray's good. It's tough. He wasn't able to practice last week, and it's as a coach, it's reassuring that practice does matter because there's some of the things he was a little rusty on, and he gave it a good effort on Saturday. But from a concussion standpoint, our doctor and Rich Bennett do a great job, and concussions now are so well handled. For a little while, from a coach's perspective, you felt like we overreacted to him a little bit, but the science has kind of has got it under control now, where there's a really smart protocol about it that's in the best interest of the kid, and it's really pretty cut and dry. And so once he goes into the concussion protocol, it's really clear on how the steps he needs to recover, and you feel good as a coach that we're doing the right thing for him, and have the diagnostic stuff to watch and see how he's doing and recovering so he can heal up.
Philip Hartwich gets to slide into the starting role both Thursday and Saturday. Rebounded the ball pretty well, had a little bit of a presence. A little confidence builder for Phil, maybe?
Yeah, I think, Phil's one of the guys that, has the potential to give us that defensive presence around the rim. And really the reality is we need to score better around the rim and we need to guard better around the rim. And I think Phil can help us do both those things. And so that's been him progressing and doing well is good. And Ray, Ray watching video of the first game, against Pepperdine, Ray really defends well at times, and he really requires attention rebounding. There's plays where he takes up another team's top rebounder and keeps that person
big body to get around.
He's a big boy, and so that's helpful. And then Colin's energy has been really good, and he's picking some things up and working through some stuff. So we need to continue to improve at that spot.
We talked about lineups going small, DeMarcus rebounding, Bryce rebounding, Gabe going to the 5 a little bit more frequently recently. And just from a pure statistical perspective, rebounding-wise, you out-rebounded both teams by 1 this last week. Is that a viable long-term solution if you decide to go that route?
It depends on matchups, It's against some big teams, and I think Gabe can do it, and it really depends who's at the 4. I think Gabe at times can really defend a 5. Jarrell actually sometimes against a big 4 is even undersized a little bit in the post, and so it depends. I don't think, in our league, being versatile and having some flexibility is really important, and not being too predictable. I think that gives us some flexibility. Gabe said hi this time, so I'll leave him alone. He walked by again, said hello. So.
All right, if you got any questions for Coach Rev, give us a call at 503-542-0910 or use hashtag AskCoachRev on Twitter. When we come back after this break, we'll talk a little bit about the officiating changes, what Coach's perspective are now that we're 2/3 of the way through the season, take a look at the WCC standings, and preview the upcoming road trip at Pepperdine and LMU. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Bro.
Here at the Pilot House on the University of Portland campus with Coach Reveneau. And Coach, earlier in the year, the beginning of the year, and throughout the year, we've seen the emails, both you and I, from the NCAA and the West Coast Conference and the officials' organizations about the various points of emphasis and how that's impacting pace of play, how scoring is up and everything. From a coaching perspective, what are your thoughts on how all that has played out this year?
I think it's played out tremendously well, and I think the officials sort of were good early calling things, and then in December they dipped a little bit, and the national coordinator officials got with all the regional coordinators and reminded the officials to get back to it. There's still slippage sometimes, lack of consistency, but I think it's good for the game that, to take out some of the physicality. And I think, in particular, the freedom of movement stuff. One thing they've been really consistent on is moving screens. You said a moving screen, a back screen. They're pretty good at calling that, and so guys got to learn, and it's just a silly foul. Rebounding fouls, pushing and shoving underneath, they've been a little less consistent. They're trying to, but you think about it, those are kind of some tough calls when the ball's up in the air and there's 4 guys and there's a scrum, and those are some tough calls. They're a little bit inconsistent. The hand checking on the point of attack, I think, has been also good. And I think, they're protecting the dribbler, and that's good for us right now. And it also makes it hard to defend. You look at some of our defensive challenges, a point of attack, and some things, and it's just hard to defend. I mean, you want a kid, Alec's a really tough kid, and he really wants, but it's hard to defend without fouling. It's hard to be. I think it was Seth Greenberg on ESPN was talking about how it's hard to play good defense now because you can't just, you're going to get in foul trouble. You can't. It's not much margin for error. They get you pretty quick sometimes, and I think there's something to be adjusting to the rules for that. And post play, I think, is still a work in progress in terms of the physicality allowed down there. Pacific was a really hard game for us in terms of, down there they were going at us in the post, and we're trying to guard. And Phillip finally took a charge where the guy would try to go right through his chest, and they were just really inconsistent, I felt, in the post play call. But they're really good with feedback. I send them the clips. They talk about it. They look at it, and they say, yeah, we missed one. No, he did this wrong. And we try to get better. But it's tough when you're trying to win games along the way. But for the most part, I'd say it was good. Shot clock, not a big factor, obviously, for us. But it's been good.
Yeah, the shot clock going down to 30 seconds, the restricted circle going out a little bit, benefiting the offense. So scoring is up nationally across the board. Pace of play, which is with your roster this year, something you like to get up and down the court, has been a benefit. And we've seen haven't quite seen another one since that 107-95 game at San Francisco, but the scoring has been up. It's been fun basketball to watch. And that is definitely something that will continue. Along those lines with pace to play and everything, leading the WCC in steals, and that's not something, over the last decade. Rebounding has been one area that the Pilots have always been pretty high at, but steals or forced turnovers necessarily hasn't been the highest for the team relative to the rest of the conference. This year, playing a more guard-oriented, you're averaging almost 8 steals a game. Is that just within the flow? Is that something that, has been a point of emphasis, or is that just the way it's going? I know the defense in terms of getting stops and opponent effective field goal percentage isn't where it needs to be in your mind, but what's your reasoning for the steals number being up?
I think a lot of the changes and the subtle things we did defensively in some of our rules was based on our personnel, and I think that's one of the positive. Thank goodness for that steal number, right? I mean, in terms of
and even when you've gotten out rebounded significantly in some games, and it's easy to look at the stat sheet and maybe you give up 18 more rebounds, but you maybe shoot more shots from the field, right, and it seems to balance itself out.
Right, and the rebounds, the steals, and the free throws are the ones you after field goal percentage, those are the ones you look at. I mean, what you shoot and what your opponent shoots is going to be the biggest driver to whether you win or lose. And then it's the number of possessions after that and the free throws. And so steals has been something good. And I would attribute it to our personnel mainly, or just guys that are good at it, good. We do a lot of work on it. We do a lot of position-based defensive principles. And, like against Pepperdine, they're going to throw into the post, and we're not going to leave our post on an island. We're going to drop to a good position of ball you man and have active hands, and maybe we can and when we have dig rules when we go dig it out, and maybe we'll be able to go get a steal on the dig. And Alec and Bryce and the guys playing heavy minutes are pretty good at sticking their nose in there and getting a steal. So and our bigs even can, Jarrell and Gabe at the 4 can make some plays. And so it's really some of the rules that we do defensively and some of the adjustments and freedom we give them. Bryce was a guy, for example, early in the year where, like, Bryce, you're a senior. You're in the perfect position. Ball's in the air. You want to go make a play. Go make a play.
Yeah.
You don't have to be.
Sometimes you can overanalyze or overthink. And
just sort of, and you've seen, Jazz has a good knack for that. All of a sudden, he'll go double the post. Guy's not looking, his guy's running away, and he'll go down there and double the post, or he'll take a charge. And some of that's just natural ability. You mentioned Luke Sikma earlier, but players that have that natural knack, you definitely don't want to overcoach it. And so Luke had a knack for rebounding and stealing, so you gave him some freedom to go with it. Block shots, block shots is another one you definitely don't want to overcoach. And steals, right now we're in a pretty good spot.
Looking at the WCC standings as we enter this next week, St. Mary's alone in first place, 9-1, 18-2 overall. Gonzaga will be on the SoCal road trip with us, 9-2, alone in second place. BYU with a win over Pepperdine. They move up into third place, 7-3. Pepperdine, who we'll talk about next segment, 7-4. San Francisco Pacific, Santa Clara, and then LMU Portland tied. That's going to be a big head-to-head match down at Gersten Pavilion. San Diego did get a win over LMU, so they're starting to creep up the leaderboard as well at 2-8 overall. So we'll look a little bit closer at Pepperdine, a nationally televised game, one of 4 nationally televised games for the Pilots. That is Thursday night, 8 o'clock, and then an afternoon game at LMU, 3 p.m. tip-off. Coming up this weekend. So we'll take a look at those matchups. If you got a question for Coach Rev, give us a call at 503-542-0910 or hashtag AskCoachRev on Twitter. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Basketball Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Welcome back. We're here at the Pilot House with Coach Reveneau, and as we look ahead, as WCC play continues, tough road trip coming up down in California. One of my favorite road trips to go on. Love the weather down there. You're at one hotel. It's pretty easy to get to and from everywhere with the exception of Pepperdine.
Can you not wear the Speedo this year? Can you stay off the Speedo?
I tried to wait for you guys to leave before I busted it out.
The bus pulls away. We forget something. We come back, and he's out there all oiled up on the Speedo, laying by the pool.
Rarely in January and February can you get a tan. You got to take advantage of it.
You got to do what you got to do.
Looking ahead to Pepperdine, they're a team that was playing really well and then ran into a tough one, as we know, at BYU to snap a 4-game winning streak. But they've been playing good basketball late. They got beat up on the Pacific Northwest trip with Gonzaga and Portland handing it to them. But since then, they've been putting it together.
Yeah, those games right after Christmas, I was really proud of our team and how we played, and watching that film, the energy we played with. We got to get back to some of that. We responded well to remember those games in the Moda Center, and coming off of that and just sort of rolled right in and playing those games and right before Christmas. I think teams responded differently, and I think we caught them off guard. They seem to have found their offensive identity a little better. They're playing better offensively than they were when we played them, I think, and they're still very good defensively. So we gotta we gotta get stops. We need to slow them down. Stacey Davis, Raines is very key for them. Lamar Murray's playing really good. He's been playing great. He's been playing very differently than when we played him the first time, and so they're playing very well. But at the same time, you worry about getting stops because that's been our Achilles heel lately. But we got to score it too, and I don't want to get overly confident about our offense because they're very good defensively, just solid. And they'll play some zone just enough to keep you honest and mix it up, and they do a nice job.
You mentioned Lamar Murray Jr., and he's a guy that always seemed like he'd go off for a big number, but maybe never got the consistent minutes for whatever reason. Well, this year he's put it all together, started all 22 games, leading scorer at 16 a game. He's put up some monster numbers recently. And Stacey Davis has been a 3-year all-conference player. Quite frankly, when you look at the numbers, he's still producing 14 points, 8 rebounds, but not as efficient, has been turning it over a little bit. So teams have focused on him. That's allowed some other players to step up.
Yeah, and our league is very tough that way. If you don't, they figure things out and they adjust, and our league is very, very tough with that. And I share that for that very reason. I'm very blunt with our players and very honest in terms of some of their deficiencies, whether it's shooting the ball or whatever. I'm saying, because we're not the only team that prepares. Other teams prepare, and they're looking at your numbers, and they look at the shot charts that they can get on Synergy and see how you're shooting. And so you've got to adjust your game a little bit. You've got to anticipate this. Well, I think that's a little bit what happened with Stacey Davis is people are adjusting to how he plays, and his numbers shooting threes are down a little bit for him. He's not shooting it as well, and but he's proven a winner, so you still worry about it. But at the same time, that makes him a little easier to guard if the outside shot's not falling for him.
Point guard Jeremy Major, him and Alec, national TV back in Portland, had a really good battle. They go back and forth he looks like an all-conference player, but then sometimes you look and, he hasn't been consistent, but he's a real dangerous player that seems to play well against the Pilots. Him and Alec like to go at each other pretty hard. Those make for some fun battles.
Yeah, no, they've got they do go at it, and he is very talented, and they've got some good guard play. They're big at the guard, and they've got some good size, and he and Alec can go at it. I'm going to say it wrong. A kid from De La Salle, Amadi, is also a very good guard. One hurt his Achilles here last year, and he's a heady player, and they've got some pieces, and they all can kind of defend and athletic and have some size, and they can get out in transition, and he's got, I like the way Coach Wilson has his team play in the sense that they've got some fair amount of offensive freedom, but they can, like we've talked about, the importance of the ability within that freedom to get the shot you want sometimes, to go the place you want to go. Raines last year knocked down some big threes, big shots against us. He doesn't do anything for 36, 37 minutes, and all of a sudden, he makes some big plays against us late, and those games tend to be like that there as we just that come down the stretch, and I think it's a great opportunity for us, and hopefully Pedro's all right. I think he's right in terms of our guys being hungry and ready. National TV game, and just the sunny venue of Malibu.
Yeah, and Pepperdine got off, had a lot of expectations early in the year, picked to finish among the top 3 in the conference, and got off to a slow non-conference start, but they put it together and playing well. Again, that's an 8 p.m. tip-off, 7:30 radio coverage, nationally televised on ESPNU. Tip at 8.
And they'll have it on here in the Pilot House.
In the Pilot House at Buffalo Wild Wings Lloyd Center, so lots of places to catch the Pilots game there. And then Saturday, an afternoon game, not televised game on the W.TV against LMU, and Coach Dunlap in his second year with LMU. They've had some ups and downs. They were kind of more opposite like Pepperdine, where I think they kind of surprised people throughout the non-conference, picked up some wins, where had things going, and then they kind of stubbed their toe in conference. But well-coached team, disciplined, and they got some talent.
Really well-coached team, and within coaching circles, Coach Dunlap, from his time at Metro State, winning Division II, he's coached in the Division II national championship games, and he's coached in the NBA head coach, and he's got great experience. And the subtle things, I don't know if the average fan sees it. He attacked our zone out of bounds better than most people. He did some really simple, basic things that were really good, and you always end up tipping the hat to him with some of his game adjustments. And I'll be honest, I love that about this league, that teams are really well prepared and really well coached. And if you don't get better in this league, you're moving backwards, because every team, it's a little bit of race of time. And I like the fact that our guys are dialed in and focused on getting better, because I think it's what we have to do. And got a challenging weekend ahead of us that we're excited for.
Coach, shifting gears a little bit as we got a couple minutes left, and I know we can't talk specifically about recruits, but your next 2 recruiting classes are pretty much solidified. What do you guys as a staff focus on right now, obviously during the season as you're going into the off season? You hear about 8th graders being recruited and stuff that gets ridiculous at some levels, but how do you manage throughout the rest of this season when you kind of know what your roster makeup's going to be?
It's a great question, because we have to ask ourselves. The big thing we've learned with recruiting is, number one thing is finding kids that want to take advantage of the educational opportunity here. They're excited about playing in WCC, that want to become the best they can be taught, be coached, and we feel like our roster now is like that. And with the 2 classes of commits we have coming in, we feel like they meet those needs, and talent-wise are really a cut above, some of the level we've been recruiting at, frankly, and going overseas to Australia and getting that's been important. So our focus, we really kind of said the Northwest needs to be a priority, and we've tried before, but we've made a little inway. Max Livingston, Jazz, got another commitment.
Gabe Taylor, Joseph Sawyer.
I talked enough about Gabe. He's walking back. I think he was walking back and forth so I could talk about him on the radio.
Well, the one we can talk about signed in November, Joseph Samoyer. Yeah, have you had a chance to see him play?
Yeah, I went and saw him the other night. I saw him play at Lincoln. And thank you. Yeah, Joseph Samoyer and the commitment we can't talk about. But those local guys, I was really pleased watching him. He does things you can't coach, and I can see things that we can help him with. The things you can't coach are great hands, great balance, and everything. So focus on the Northwest, focus on international, and younger guys. We have our camps coming up in the spring and summer. We've had good feedback there in terms of getting some young guys there. just building those relationships that you have the time to build has paid off. The relationships overseas in Australia has been paying off, and local relationships. People like what we're doing here. They're coming out to games. The high school players, coaches coming out to games. So we're excited.
Well, fun basketball, like I say, not the result you wanted, but Saturday's game, that was a heck of a battle between some great guards. A lot of people left very entertained, and we expect some more down in Pepperdine and LMU. Again, Pepperdine at 8 p.m. tip-off. If you need to watch it at home or you can't make it to the Pilot House, ESPNU on the television dial.
Or you need an excuse to drive to Malibu.
Exactly.
Road trip.
I know
road trip.
We got
I got
some
tickets.
of our fans coming.
Just hit me on Twitter at Coach Reveno, and we'll get you some tickets.
Pepperdine at 8 o'clock, and then LMU Saturday at 3 p.m. Thanks for tuning in to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show. We'll be back on the air next Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. right here at the Pilot House. For Coach Reveno and Jesse Osman in studio, this is Jason Bro signing off. Thanks for listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show.
This has been Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveno. Tonight's show was brought to you by employee-owned Weimart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by PlaySmart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Join us for University of Portland basketball all season long on the home of the Pilots, 910 ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland.